And here we go. Let me do this and this. And where's my, all right, good. Here we are. Good morning. It's another day in the neighborhood. Like Mr. Rogers, back a long time ago, would come in and put his little sweater on. Here we rock and roll. Hope everybody is super well today. I'm going to talk about um, something that I think is very interesting and very important because we deal with this quite frequently when we are, launching ads and why a lot of them don't work. And there's so many factors, but there's also some surprising factors that I think will actually, how do you want to say, it might surprise you when I'm going to talk about this because um, people won't really talk about it. So I'm like I said, I'm gonna get into everything that I've got planned for you because there's a lot of things that Facebook is looking for when we are getting our ads. And if you don't get these things right, you're forever going to be throwing money at Facebook and never getting any ROI on your ads. And so we're going to get into that today with this training on why ads never work, why 90% of them fail within the first week. But I'm going to talk to you about exactly how to fix that. Like, how do you stop that from happening or how do you fix it? So, um, let's just go and jump right in. And like I said, good morning, everybody. Let's get cooking. I wonder if my email didn't go out this morning. I thought it did, but obviously, I don't think the main email did. Let's see. Let's jump into getting this little presentation thing done for you. It looks like I just have a head. Where is it? Where's the right tab, you guys? Where is the right tab? Here it is. Share my screen. Here we go. Okay. So I want you to message me in the chat here if you've had this happen, where your ads have gone up, you are giving money to Meta, and you're getting no leads, maybe some clicks, probably a couple trollers on your ad, and you wonder why they just died. Like you have no idea what went wrong. You think you followed everything correctly, but here's the thing. Facebook has got like when you go into the ads manager, it's like looking at a flight deck of a 747, right? It's like how do you know what's really the right thing and what's not? Because even the little green buttons that are next to the ad, or they're blue, there's a green button at the end and it says publish. And just because it goes live doesn't mean it's going to work. And just because that little blue button is on next to the ad, that doesn't mean it's going to work either. And so, yeah, everybody here has had that happen before. It is what happens. I mean, it is what happens to most of us. Oh my gosh, I started doing ads, um, paid ads on Facebook as soon as they were available. I think it was probably like 2010 or 2011. And, now I have a whole client base that I show how to do ads. But back then, I'm going to tell you, I was terrible. Like I was terrible at it. And the rules and restrictions were so weird. Nobody really knew what they were. And I even remember getting like hate email from the platform. I mean, like, I thought that I thought that I was going to have to go into the witness protection program by the way these emails were written. They were probably written by some young punk programmer who really didn't. care about how people felt. I wish I had saved those emails. They were like really bad and really threatening. And now we help people navigate through the forest, as we like to say, with the platform. And different, here's the thing, it's not just the platform that is different. Every season they're always upgrading, making changes, but even within Instagram and Facebook, they run very differently, especially when you're doing ads. And on the other side of that, within the ads manager, there's all these different types of ads that behave differently for different purposes. And then within them are like subsettings. So that is why, you know, you go in there and you're like, you just throw money at it, it may or may not work, but we can help you fix this. Okay. So most ads don't fail because of the creative, and the creative is the ad itself, the image, the words, all that stuff, the stuff you create and you put in there marketing to your peoples, for like I like to say. So it's because the account wasn't set up correctly. This account wasn't warmed up properly, and there's weak or unclear signals to Meta. The algorithm is always trying to figure out what is going on with the ads, or who does that ad need to go in front of. And when we start the ad account with a brand new person or page, it's really important to warm it up with engagement types of ads. Okay. And the account also needs to be clear on the Facebook page what this is about. Because when the ad goes live, that little bot goes everywhere, everywhere. The bot goes to the send to page and scans that. It goes to your Facebook page and scans that. It goes obviously to the ad and the creative and scans that, and is trying to figure out like who does it go to. And if these things are not set up properly, it will give false or mixed signals to the platform. Okay. And we typically, when we are working with clients, we have that account set up, done in a way that you're using Facebook's actual business suite, not the not the Meta suite. There's like a business account area. It's the ads manager, the business manager. And so we use that because it is a almost like a completely different platform, and we're not putting the person's account, like their personal profile account, at risk. So we also have it so that if you ever have VAs or other individuals that you want to have come and help you with the ads and things like that, it's easy to add them without giving them your personal passwords. That's a really big deal. I know a lot of people with big accounts will give their personal passwords to their Facebook page so people can manage that stuff. And it's really risky to do that. So you got to have that set up set up properly. Also, too, when you're warming up the ads, those ads that are going out there to warm up should be intentional, looking for a certain person and letting the public know who you are. Okay, very important step. And that's what will give these, you know, signals to Facebook of who exactly you're looking for. All right, so it's super important because of that foundation stuff. It's the foundation that goes out there. Because if you've got an ad that says one thing and the account says another, it's like Facebook's like, I'm not quite sure what's going on here. Okay. The other thing is that when your ad first gets launched, okay, say we've got, everything is set up properly. When the ad first goes out there, the ad goes in what they call learning phase. If you've run ads before, there's the learning phase. It'll say it even next to the ad. And it could take couple hours, could take a week or two. I mean, sometimes ads go out of the gate, they work really well, then they fall back into learning. And really, what that means is Facebook is trying to figure out who your people are. And learning is not always a bad thing. Some people get panicked about it. They're like, oh my God, this is bad. Or the ad will go into learning limited. And if it's in learning limited, the ad itself, and it's not getting results, that's one thing. Sometimes people have really high KPIs, key performance indicators, and sometimes it will go into learning limited and still produce results. So the account, it kind of depends on what you're looking to do. But when you first launch an ad, think of it as like you ever see when like there this is a kind of a weird analogy, but like when somebody breaks out of prison, right, and they're running around the forest, near the prison, and they've got the dogs looking, and everybody's looking for the people. That's kind of like what Facebook does. When an ad goes out there, you have a um you have the the ad goes, and then the algorithm goes after it. The algorithm is like, okay, what's going on? Who do these people want? What's the deal with this? That's exactly what's happening. And so that first 7 days, they're trying to match the ad with the algorithm is trying to match the ad with the ideal user. And so that happens in the hours, when we start to, get it launched. And so when you go in there, and if you're futzing with your ad and you're making edits or you're doing changes, you're actually putting it right back into learning phase. Because a lot of people will launch an ad, and then like the next day they'll go in and they'll start changing the headline, or they'll start messing with the words, or they'll do whatever with it, or they'll change the settings. Oh, maybe this is a better audience. And every time you do that, you throw the ad back into learning. You almost need to like launch an ad and walk away for like at least 3 days. Like at least 3 days. It's like you just like I can't look, because you may get zero results the first day. It happens. And then all of a sudden, day two or three, like even four, I've seen it where it clicks, and all of a sudden, like boom, flood of people come in. And then there's times where the ad will go out, and then you have tons of results, and then it dies. It's you got to learn the account as well. It's like, oh, this is interesting. But you really, if you this is why we test on low budgets, 3, 5, $7, under $10 budgets. Certain ads need at least $5. Some ads need at least $10 or $15, depends on the ad. But we would like to see the ad go through a full week of cycle. Every day of the week is also going to have a different result with your prospect. So some people, you'll find that they respond on the weekends. Other ads you could launch could get people responding throughout the week, or Tuesdays and Thursdays. So you really need to see a full 7 day cycle to know if the ad is valid or working. However, like, you want to test the ad on the most minimal budget possible, because you don't want to put your money on fire. I mean, that's kind of a big deal, right? So you have to be very conscious when you are launching this ad, that it is one of those ads that, if I told nothing to Facebook about who this is for in the targeting, would Facebook know by scanning the ad creative and knowing what's on my Facebook page? Would they know who this is for? That's kind of like what you really need to think about when you're putting the ad out there. And so when you are launching ads, these are some of the mistakes that we see people make, is that I'm just thinking about when I look at people's ads manager, most of the time in the targeting section, they'll throw everything in there. Like anybody that could possibly be a prospect. Like anybody and everybody. I will see it. Hold on, I'm looking for something here. um Everybody in under the sun, they'll put in the interest group. Like they'll put moms in there, they'll put college graduates in there, they'll put people that like fine jewelry, people that like travel, and it's all in the interest group. They're like, well, this is any of these people will work. And I'm like, well, you're sending some really messed up signals to the platform. And I've seen that where the platform gets very confused because the interest group is like all over the place. When you're putting the interests into the ads manager, it's important to keep it simple. I try to keep it as simple as possible and not have more than one or two variables. Like you could have your main interest group, like I don't know, motivational speaking, right? And then on the side of that, you could put in like parents, I mean, like as an exclusion, like to further narrow. But people will just throw everything under the sun and they're wondering why the platform gets confused, and that is more common than not. I look at people's target, I'm like, oh, we got to untangle this because this is sending weird signals to the platform and they're gonna get confused. So we got to be careful with that. Also, too, you could test too much at one time. I typically like to see, when we're testing on a creative, usually 4 to 6. Some people go is they max it out at like 10 or 15 or whatever. And I'm like, I don't know. I like 4 to 6. 6 is kind of my sweet number that I like to do. Test 6 different ads, images. We'll look at 6 different different variables and see which one's going to be the best winner. And then again, you got to keep your fingers off the toggle button and not turn things off too fast. And usually you'll know in a few days like where the budget is going, but sometimes you get weird signals. Like I said, you got to let it cycle and learn through a couple days. I will tell you the old days of when we used to launch an ad and then within we would do it within 12 hours, we would turn off the losers. Well, we really don't even, the algorithm has changed where it needs a little bit longer. My personal ads take 3 days minimum. Like the first day, you can kind of look at it, but dang, it is like difficult to know on even my own. So I always tell even my clients, we launch the ads and we can see quick wins within a couple days. I'm like, okay, we're kind of seeing this is good, but we need to let it go at least the 5 days, even better if it's 7 days. And all of a sudden, even over time, over the next couple weeks, as the algorithm is honing in, because we've set those clear signals, the algorithm will all of a sudden click and then the price will even get better on the lead because they really figured out who's the perfect market match to the ad. Okay. The other thing is too is that sometimes people will launch to the ad to the wrong the wrong funnel part, I guess you would say. So in here's, have you probably heard of funnels before? Here's your top of funnel, your middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel. And if you have a new ad account and you don't have any base for the platform, to go after, and you're putting a bottom of funnel ad out there without these other layers, a bottom of funnel ad is an ad that has a very strong call to action, like book a call with us. That's definitely a big one. Book a call with us. Um, Even a taller ask for a purchase, not a low ticket item. A low ticket item usually falls like in here, but the bottom of funnel stuff where you're really asking a strong call to action to buy something, um, or take an action like book a call, if that's done right out of the gate in an ad account without warming up and having an top and middle of funnel audience, that can get crappy results. It'll just get you crappy results. And then people wonder why, oh, I just put this thing out there to come and buy my stuff and it doesn't get me any responses because these pieces were missing. So you do need to warm up the whole, the whole campaign should have multiple pieces to it for that. Hold on, I think I see something draw in the chat. Yeah, Meta is definitely making it more difficult to turn off Advantage Plus. You have to go in there and check it like a whole bunch of times. And anytime you make an edit, they'll put Advantage Plus on. And there's a time and a place for Advantage Plus. which I am going to talk about. There is a time and a place for Advantage Plus, but it ain't at the beginning of a thing, of a campaign. And the thing is with the thing is with the ads when they go out, Advantage Plus is trying to find you the cheapest traffic and the cheapest conversions. They don't care about quality. Facebook Meta thinks they are doing you the best service by getting you the cheapest traffic. That's just what they think. Like they think cheaper is better. And you talk to them and they're like, "Oh yeah, yeah, lead quality," but really the whole algorithm is trying to get you the cheapest stuff. So you got to remember that. That's why getting in the right ad copy, the right images, the avatar is really clear on your side because their goal is to get you the cheapest traffic and the most traffic because the platform is really built for e-commerce. And if you're a network marketer or you've got a small business or you're an attorney or whatever your business is, and you're looking for a certain kind of person to become a client in a long-term situation, that's not necessarily what the algorithm is doing. Like the algorithm is trying to like get you the cheapest. Like they are going after your objective for sales or to conversions or to leads, and they're trying to find you the cheapest, which is there's pros to that, but the con is sometimes it's like it could be like really cheap stuff, but it could be maybe not the best. So we need to have that funnel done properly so that it people are coming in at different uh levels and they've already have the market awareness. So yeah. So what you need to do is this. You know what not to do. We got to be mindful with this whole thing. We got to plan it out. There's with my clients we have a specific set of exercises that we do to get really clear on this. And even we're not marketing how awesome we are. We're marketing a solution to people, so we got to get really clear on that solution and why that person would want that solution. And this is what's important here is that, you know, when you are writing your ads, you have to step back and look at them and say, okay, is my targeting in the ad set matching the people that I'm speaking to in the ad copy? And if the platform read this ad and looked at and scanned this image, would it know who to go and find? That's really important. And then look at your send to page and say, if they scanned this, would they know exactly who this person is? So, in the ad itself, or the ad, the targeting and the ad and the landing page, or the send to, because sometimes the landing page is an opt in and sometimes it's not, is that congruent in the messaging? Or sometimes, a lot of times, what happens is the ad and the send to page don't match. Especially when you're testing a lot of ads, you need to make sure they do stay congruent. Trust me, sometimes it's hard to do that, especially when you're testing new things. And then, other thing is the platform wants engagement on the ads more than ever. Like this is the number one thing is to get engagement. Engagement from the ad, watching the video is engagement. Clicking below is engagement. Liking the post is engagement. Sharing the post is engagement. Saving the post is engagement. So the platform wants all of these signals, and that almost over anything is the most important thing is the engagement. And so I've got some ads that have got almost 1,000 comments. And those ads are the ones that are super performers. They're the ads that are the big winners. And the reason is because they've got so much engagement. The the data from that ad is kind of is like saved in the ad. You know, the ad account and the campaign has its own memory, it learns, but the ad itself is really very like all the data that goes with that ad like is stored with the ad. And so when somebody goes in with an ad that has got engagement and then changes the ad, it wipes out all of that engagement, which is bad. Don't ever do that. Always duplicate the ad and then make the change. But we in getting engagement is like the number one thing nowadays. That's what the platform really wants. And I will say this, I've said it on other trainings, is the main goal of the platform is to guess what? Keep people on the platform. So you always remember that. Always remember that. The key thing with the platform is they want content and ads that keep people on the platform. And if you remember that and you have that through everything that you do, you're going to have winners. Just going to have winners because it is literally the biggest factor. Because there are other platforms that are nipping at Meta's heels, and so they're like, okay, we got YouTube to compete with, we got TikTok to compete with, we've got other, social media, those little social media platforms like LinkedIn and Pinterest and, whatever else is out there. And then you've also got people like, we want them to stay on Meta or do we want them to go to Netflix? Right? The platform wants people to stay on the platform, and engaging content is what keeps people on the platform. So they highly, highly reward it. Okay. And this is also the big change in the Andromeda update that we just recently had in this year. I just saw something the other day that, said, oh, this huge Andromeda update that just happened. I'm like, it happened a while ago, but we, we're seeing it keeps learning. Facebook makes an update, and that update is going to take months for the algorithm to learn and retrain, and it's just wild how it works. So also, you need to have consistency. Is this a double? It's the same. Okay, I got a double slide. Sometimes it happens. Let's get rid of that one. Okay, so let's look at some of these major signals that I look at when we first launch an ad. Your CPMs are your cost per thousand impressions. You've got your CTR, which is your click-through rate on your link. Cost per click is just the average click in general. And then you got your cost per lead. And you also have your CPA, which is your cost per action or acquisition. It kind of like some people do it one way, some people do it another, but also you've got your KPI, like your main, like what is your objective? Do you want booked calls? Do you want to measure by sales? What is really your metric? And that's this one, which is often a little more complicated, and you got to set that up. Um, so you're going to see ads. I'm going to show you ads that win and ads that lose, and then how things changed. So let me show you in the ads manager here. Let me navigate over. Let me navigate over here. All right, so let's go into, move this out of the way. We've got some ads. This is an account that is very interesting because I had some issues with my tracking. This was getting results, but it wasn't tracking them. And then we got it kind of tracking here yesterday. So we'll see when we click on it if it's doing anything. So here's an example of something. I'm testing two different audiences, right? And this is a winner, or this is the winner and this is the loser, looking at these two different audiences. But if you look at it from the external, it looks like I got $50 leads, which ultimately I did. But within looking in the campaign, I was testing against these two, and the one ad set is actually the winner. So if we look at this, and this is within the KPIs that I like, this is what I want this lead to cost to be. But your CTR all is the number that I like to say is like when anybody fiddling on Facebook, just fiddling on your ad, right? They're looking, they're learning more, they're stopping, they're clicking on the image, whatever it is. CPC is your cost per click, but this one I don't look at as much. It's not as important to me. This general futzing with the ad, I I do look at this as the overall health of the ad. It just shows us like, okay, are we stopping the scroll is really what that is. I like to really focus on my CTR rates. This is somebody who's clicking the button to go to the next page, the call to action. So I like this number to be, this or this or this. This one ain't not so good. Even though it got 4 link clicks, if you notice how expensive that cost per link click was, I was like, all right, we're gonna see if this thing figures itself out. Um, so we came over here. Let me see if that one, and ironically, the one that looks really crappy, the 0.077 link click-through rate is one that got a lead. Even though I'm like, ugh, it's kind of gross. But that's why that lead cost so much money because the CTR link click-through was so low. The cost per link click was really high. See, this is $6 versus 3.52. The only variable in these ads is the uh, image. The words and the headline are all the same targeting, except for the other ad set was a different targeting. So I was testing the targeting and I was testing the images. And the only variable in this particular ad set is the image. Okay. So we're looking at this particular image, people, Facebook kept showing it, but it was a very low link click through rate. And so your CPM, your cost per 1,000 impressions, the more competitive like the more competitive the market is, or when Facebook feels like the creative is not as good as maybe some other creatives out there, the higher that CPM is going to be. I'm in a very competitive market, so it's going to be a little, this one's got a $26 CPM. This one up here is a $92 CPM. That's actually pretty high. But because my CTR link click through rate is so good, it kept my link click cost. So there's a lot of people that live and die by the CPM, and I don't live and die by the CPM at all. I look at the cost per link click. I'm looking at my CTR link click through rate. I'm like, okay, this is healthy. I kind of look like that. But ultimately, what really matters at the end of the day is what is the result of your objective? Did I get a lead or a sale or whatever you're asking for? What was the cost? Was it within your KPIs? Right. So here I'm like, all right, this is good. I'm okay with this. I did turn this campaign off because I scaled it up more this morning, and let's see if it has any result yet. I turned off the if you look at this, this was the winner. Oh, did I screw this up? I did. I turned on the wrong one. So what happens when you do it like a lot of them at a time. I meant to turn this one on, so hopefully it'll be good this morning. But it went in here. This is the one they're showing. It actually wasn't going to be bad. It didn't convert yet, as far as I'm aware. It only had 2 link clicks, but this was a budget of only $20. I duplicated it to launch it at $100 today, but $100 a day. But I flipped the wrong ones and I meant to put it in there and go back and forth. And obviously I turned the wrong one on. It's a $20, but it does actually look pretty good in the performance. But I don't want this one to run. Because it didn't perform in the original test. The original test here was a $20 a day test, and it didn't get any real results. So I wanted to relaunch the one that did perform, but I accidentally turned on the wrong one. but it's still early enough in the day. I feel like we're going to be fine. And it's already learned in the previous duplication. I didn't change anything. So just know that like the data and the memory from the previous duplication is going to come into the next one because I did not change the ad. The ad was just duplicated and I increased the budget um, by $80. So this is a perfect example of just let it go and let it learn and then walk away. Because this one I did on the 7th, I ran it for 3 days. This is where we were having tracking issues. I know these got leads, but I don't know which ones. There was a problem with the pixel and, like the things that can go wrong, right? But I could kind of see looking at these without knowing which one got leads, which one was the winner, right? And you can see motivational entrepreneurship, the ad set is a better, it's got uh better numbers over here. So anyways, it was kind of like, oh man. And then I relaunched it and it still didn't track right. I'm like, great, this is fabulous. I know there's leads that came through because I saw them come through on the other side, but I'm like, well, okay. This is why we tested a low budget. This was being tested at $50 a day. For me, that's a low budget. So I'm like, okay, we need to like I ran this one for 2 days. I ran this one for a day and a half, and I'm like, there's something wrong. And like we can't get this thing to track. And then we finally got it tracking yesterday. So there might even have been a couple more leads in here that did not get tracked. There was something weird. Like I said, we're waking up an old account here. But looking at this now this morning is I already tested this, right? We did our tests on this one and I relaunched it on here, but I turned off the loser, accidentally turned off the wrong winner. But now we're back on track. So that's what, how we're gonna get this thing rolling, right? And be able to um, now see what the result is today at a higher budget because I've already proved that it's going to be the winner, right? So, yay. All right. So, that is this. Let me go back to here. So that, what did I change? Why does it matter? It's because of the what's out there, It's we go in and we are looking at these different numbers and these different metrics and one worked and one didn't. Why? The targeting could be the segment that they picked, and all that really matters is at the end of the day, what was my cost per acquisition or what was my cost per action, the one that I wanted. So there is that. All right, let's see. I think we're good. All right. Let me see. I'm looking at the chat here. Um, Yes, there'll probably be a replay on this for sure. Where I'm going to host it, I don't know. I got to figure out where I'm going to host it. So there is that. Yes, you're very welcome. All right. So if you have not gotten your ads up and you are getting them running, we are if you're watching this video, especially if you're watching the replay, there will be a link below for you to schedule a call with us to go over your ads if you need some help. Messing around in there sometimes is confusing, and the settings you might want to know, like what's the best path for you or things like that. I would recommend setting up a call. That's the only way we can really know is to talk to you about it. If you've not done that before, I would recommend doing that. Somewhere on this video, there will be a link for that, and you can schedule and speak to one of my specialists who've been doing this a long time with me. Absolutely amazing. And, we can help you get on the right track and get the support you need. Because every day that you put money into the ads manager and you're not getting it back out, is you're basically lighting money on fire, and until you fix this, it's going to continue. And we don't want that to happen. It is way less money in lost money. I lost, I think, over $1 million of income because I didn't know how to do ads correctly. And that was a very costly event. I talked to a lot of people who, they have these goals of making, 10, 20, 30, $40,000 a month, but they don't want to be a real business and invest into their advertising. And I said, well, how are you going to do that if you don't invest in your advertising? Like, how are you going to build your business? Because businesses need to get the word out. Nobody knows about you, you're not going to have any business. So, like there's often a mismatched goal with that, but ultimately the real thing is if you want, a professional type of income with your business, it has to have a professional, way of operating. So, and advertising is hands down like the core thing of running a business. So, all right, everybody. Well, we will catch you next week. I do have on here, let me go to this here.